If you truly want to leverage your business, you have to think like an owner and see your business as an asset in regards to your wealth creation, right? So you want to look at it like a portfolio manager would across all your assets. So your home is an asset in your wealth creation, or your investments are an asset in your wealth creation. So are your businesses. So if you can actually have a different lens, if you've been an owning operator, and again, this is why we talk exit strategy, because it's like, what if you just were owning it so you could go launch your next business? What would that look like?
This is the Entrepreneurs United podcast with your hosts, John St. Pierre and Rich Hoffman.
Hey, entrepreneurs. Today, John and I are with Zahr Walsh, who's the CEO of Revampologist. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So honored to talk to you both today.
Absolutely. I look on your website and the thing in big, bold red, are you a growth-minded entrepreneur feeling stuck or seeking strategic clarity? Sure. So talk to us about how you work with somebody who's in that position.
Because you both are seasoned entrepreneurs and been working with entrepreneurs, like we always have something next we want to be doing. And sometimes we feel stuck in the, how do I move from what I have into what I want to go to next? Or have I maximized where I am today? And am I able to move forward into a different level of what I'm doing? And clarity is the first thing you need in order to then map a plan to that destination. In all the areas of the 20 plus years of business acumen I've had, it's just been so much fun to work with entrepreneurs in almost being a little bit more practical around how we go around growth. So simple practices in place around that is what I try to bring to the table and just make sure that people stay in action towards what it is that they want.
Love that, Kareen. And I want to just dive into a couple of words you gave us right off the bat, which is a lot of growth-minded entrepreneurs are always thinking about something next. On the same token, in order to scale something, you got to have clarity and you got to have discipline, you know, all these things. And I know for myself and entrepreneurs that I work with, that whole proverbial shiny object is always a big problem, but could also be your next big opportunity to scale something. So talk to me about how can you, as an entrepreneur, control your something next while also trying to get clarity on what you do best and stay in the discipline lane to scale, or how do you work with entrepreneurs in that area?
Yeah, so I think it's inevitable, the what's next, like I said earlier, where we have to become very seasoned and disciplined in how we pivot when we want to pivot. And I think we have to sit with the assessment toolkit, right? So a lot of the work that I do is really to make sure we're clear on where you are right now, to then understand, okay, you have this new concept or you have this new idea, or you even want to take what you're doing now and make it even better or serve more people, right? It gives us this ability when we do these mini assessments to say, okay, now I have clarity of where I am. I also am super clear on the thing that I want to do next is a fit for what I'm already doing, or it's actually completely different. And I might need to start talking about my exit from what I've been working on so far, or the business that I have so far. And I talk about exits all the time too, where it's about the exit from your role. Because sometimes businesses are built on your own acumen, and then you don't want to be stuck in the doing anymore. But you still want that business and you want to serve those clients. So how do you replace yourself and move on to what's next? There's a lot there that I just said, but happy to.
There is a ton there. Let me catch back up for a second.
Yeah.
You talk about this assessment toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to learn a little bit more about, okay, you gave us a couple of nuggets, which is you got to assess where you are right now and what are the brutal facts, like where am I right now, and have absolute clarity on that current position. And then where do I want to be and what do I want to do next? And how does that fit into the grand scheme of everything? And do I have to exit something? And that doesn't mean necessarily sell my business, but it's exit the role or exit the roles and responsibilities that I do in order to provide for something else. And then you talked about even further than that, how a job as an entrepreneur is sometimes to always replace yourself in the jobs that you're doing so you can continue to move up the scale of strategy and other areas. So a lot there. Let's just start with the assessment toolkit. What is the assessment toolkit? How do I get my hands on this assessment toolkit? Is it for all entrepreneurs? Who is it for? Give me more on that.
Yeah, so it's the start. It's what kicks off my evolved methodology. So the first step is to evaluate where you are today. Now, if I'm under the hood of the business with you as a strategic advisor, growth advisor, because you've gotten to a certain point, you're trying to take it next. My personal assessment that I come into businesses and do is really a look at the people, process, and technology of your company with leadership in the middle. So if you can imagine like the three circle converging together with leadership in the middle is how I approach all business when I'm looking to help a company scale. Now that is more of like the consulting side of what my company does, but the assessment that you can do as a tool that I provide all entrepreneurs and in my Hey Kareen community, we do a monthly live coaching call where I run through what I call my retrospective exercise. So those are 4 key questions to always be asking. I like to encourage my clients to do this every 30 days. It's 3 key questions and then coming up with your final action. So it's a 4-part assessment. But the first question is, what is going really well? Something as simple as asking yourselves, because as entrepreneurs, we're always thinking about the what's next. We're not really sitting with what's actually going right now. We don't celebrate enough. So I always like to kick it off with a celebration of what's going really well. What do you want to keep doing? And that's question number 1. It also raises the vibration to then answer the second question, which is a little harder, which is what do we need to stop doing? Because sometimes we continue down a path of the doing without the assessment of this is not very efficient, or this is not actually reaping the results we hoped for, or this isn't even selling. So maybe we need to just stop putting that out there and put our efforts elsewhere. So that's the second question. What do we need to stop doing? The third question is what do we need to start doing? So the start question allows the room for the new, where it's, you know what, we need to actually start exploring this new market or serving our client this way or adding this additional service. But you've now answered 3 key questions to actually get the state of affairs of where you are today, understand what change needs to happen. And then the 4th part of this is now what's the one action you're going to take in the next 30 days to inch you towards that goal that you're after.
That's excellent. Can you give us an example of a recent client who you worked with and how they answered those questions?
Yeah. So because it's so cyclical with my clients, one of the things that, let me think about one recent one, was working with a product company. It's a retail and product company. And when we went through this assessment, the celebration was around current sales and ensuring that there was stability, but they had launched a new product that wasn't responding as well in the market as they had hoped. So when we asked the question, well, what do you need to stop doing? It was stop selling this specific product to the existing market. It was a product that was not aligned with the current customer base. And so they really had diverged like efforts, and it wasn't aligned with who they were trying to serve in the beginning. So the stop doing was a really big aha moment for them, because they realized they needed to course correct on who this product was for. So then when the start doing answers came up, it was really about, okay, we have to do better market research, stop the spending, reallocate, I should say, the spending on ads and who it was directed towards to be aligned with the actual market it's for. And so the one action was to reassess who this product is for and ensure that any spend around marketing for this product was aligned with the right sales model for it.
Thanks for that. Tell me about this Hey Kareen app.
Right.
What inspired that? Where does the content come from? How does that work?
Yeah, so I was finding a lot of my clients would say, I wish I could carry you around in my pocket. Yeah, no, like you can text me, you can message me, you can do all the things, but my time capacity was a problem because I'm in engagements with my clients or I'm traveling doing keynote talks or whatever it is that I didn't want to be the reason they weren't getting the support. So I decided to clone myself in AI. I took my 20 plus years of business acumen, my methodology, my 2 books, all the articles I've written, all the podcasts I've been on, just all my content, centralized it into the machine, gave her my personality. And so now you can talk and chat with Kareen in my Hey Kareen app to get the business support you need on the go. So I'm no longer the blocker for it, and you actually get the support you need as you need.
And when did you come out with that, and how's it going?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. I designed the concept for it last March, so March of 24. So it was March of 24. Then got my team together. My background is in complex tech delivery. Like I'd been in the tech game for a long time before I launched my entrepreneurial coaching programs. And I think I had my MVP product out to beta users by that June so that we could really start to see, is this valuable and are people going to use it, tested it out. And then we did our official launch last September. And it's been great. It's something where I'm learning a lot, how people are using it, the questions they're asking. Everything's anonymous from my standpoint of what I see. I don't know who's asking what, but at least it's giving me the data to understand the challenges that are out there. But the biggest feedback I get is it's literally like I'm talking to you all the time, especially if there are people in like True Network that love to talk to me. I'm like, yeah, but you could still call me. Like, right? But anyway, they're getting the support they need. And then now we can build the friendship because now the business acumen is sitting in there. But it's been great. I think adoption rate is slowly lifting up as more people know about it and finding the benefits of it. So I'm really excited that it's out there.
Great. You said the assessment was a kickoff to your evolve methodology, and it started with evaluate. Is that a precursor to, that's an acronym for you?
Yes,
Is evolve?
it is.
Okay. Can you fill out the rest of that for us?
Sure. Evaluate is that first E, and that is the assessment tool. So we know where you're at. The V, the first V is about vision. So what is the vision? Where are we going after? What are we trying to accomplish? And I like to do vision work and especially for entrepreneurs where it's your life and your business, because I believe your business is the fuel for your life. And so if we're not seeing the full picture, I can't help guide you in how to go after it. Then where are we at? The O? The O is for own it. So one of the biggest things that I find in my practice that I think given the most impact around is who you have to become in order to lead in that vision for yourself. And that's own it. So O is for own it. Like, how are you actually going to own the actions and the steps for it? And we go through different exercises. I actually have an exercise, a quiz called the CEO Conundrum, where we find out first what the innate role is. There's 3 core roles for every company. So you have your creator, your entrepreneur, and your operator. And so in that phase of the own it, we identify the role you want to play so we can figure out who we have to surround you with in order to fill the gaps. And so that you're leading from your innate stance. So then the L is all about leverage. So leverage is where we come up with the offers, the service, the breakdown. What is this business, right? What are we putting out into the world? So what are we leveraging in order to create the revenue, the business itself? What's the model? That's all the business modeling segment and ensuring that we have something to offer out into the world. The second V is all about validation. So I believe, and if you imagine this acronym in a circle, this is a circular process because you go through this every single year, all 6 steps. So that V, that a second V of validate is getting that offer out there and seeing, is it being purchased? Just like that assessment I did with the client where that product wasn't being sold as quickly to the existing market. We have to validate that the offer is actually hitting the market that you built it for and listening to make it even better. So the validation step is important to understand how we're going to make sure that product sells. And then the final E is exit. So one of the other things that I do that I think is unique to my practice is that I like to know how you want to leave your business, whether it's leave your role, leave the company itself. So that exit strategy is really important for us to reverse engineer where we're headed through.
I love that. Kareen, I want to dive into one of these specifically that you talked about.
Yeah.
The vision. And more specifically, I'd like to understand why and when did you come to the realization that you can't have a business plan without knowing what your life plan is? Because that one is one that I learned the hard way. Where did you learn that?
I think vision, what I find for me personally is I actually have to visualize something for me to go after it. If I can't see it, I can't step into it. But when I found that the practice, that was just innate to me, but I found that was a missing link for a lot of people to incorporate all of what they do into a full ultimate vision, as I call it. So it started with, for me, quite young, with all the shifts I've gone through. I've taken a lot of risks in my career life, I would say, and my personal life. But what I found was when in my 20s, I was just hustling for career growth. I was miserable in my life. Miserable. Being sent to the ER because health issues, miserable. Like, it wasn't a healthy scenario to just chase the dollar when there was no life around it. So my wake-up call, the first wake-up call I had, where I had to construct, how do I integrate the corporate climb or the career growth or the wealth creation to fuel my life, was probably around 29. Because that's when I resigned from a really nice, cushy 6-figure tech income, and then decided to go out on my own the first time, relocate and just go to a healthier city and take care of myself. Like, all the goals came together. So that was probably the first time that it really sunk in to integrate who I am into what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. I won't share how I learned the hard way, but it came after a massive business failure where I woke up and said, what am I doing? Like, almost to the same point where you were, like, what?
Yeah.
I was just running so hard. And so now when I work with entrepreneurs, we spend the first 2 days together. And the first day is we line out their 30-year life plan.
Wow.
Very similar to the one thing methodology. You talked about the one action, but what is your one thing ultimately? And let's work it all the way back down. We spend the whole first day doing that. And the second day we'll jump into your business plan, because I say exactly what you say, which is I can't help you with your business if I don't know what you are trying to do. What shocks me the most, Kareen, and I was there, so I get it, is that if you had a room of 100 entrepreneurs and you said, who has a life plan? Not a lot of hands go up. And it's shocking, because we all meet with our executives. We all meet with our leadership team and go, we need a strategic plan. And you work on the strategic plan of your business, but we lack one for ourselves. So I just love the fact that you focus on that, number one. And then number two, I love the usage of the word full ultimate vision. It is one thing to have a business vision or a personal vision. What's your full ultimate vision?
Yeah.
So really love that. I'm assuming you go through the same process. So, hey, I can't work with you here. Let's work on your life plan first. Then I'll understand more about you. So thanks for sharing all that. The other one that I wanted to dive into was the CEO Conundrum Quiz. Oh boy. Like, when you first said own it, I was like, own it. You be accountable to say what you're going to do and whatever. But the amount of entrepreneurs that I know, and I've been there again myself, where they're not sure. Should I lead more of the sales of my company? Should I jump in operations over here? Should I do this over here? There's this conundrum of where do you spend your time to help your business move to the next level? Talk to me a little bit more about what you discover in the CEO Conundrum Quiz. Obviously, I'm sure people can find it on your website, which I would love for a lot of entrepreneurs to go find out. So tell us where we can find that. Yeah. But then what are the inputs? Give us a sense of what would you be putting into this quiz and what would be the output? Just a little more detail on that.
Yeah, so the quiz is quite short. You answer some really key questions that help us align with what are you in that CEO conundrum. And again, CEOs is a acronym. So it's creator, operator, or entrepreneur. And generally, we fall into one of the three from an innate enjoyment, desired role. Sometimes we are misaligned or misdirected on the role we are playing because I like to say, should all over ourselves. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I'm an entrepreneur and I should. And it's, but that's not your skill set. That's not your expertise. That's not going to light you up and make you push through the hard if you're shooting all over yourself because you have misalignment in your role. So the quiz itself is quite short, but it gives you the identity of which one to lean into the most from your innate way that makes you feel joy and also just excites you to show up for it. So the creator is the person that's always with the new idea, always innovating, like the what next. And you would think that most entrepreneurs have that. But the truth about it is that it's a very distinct mind that thinks them that way. A solution-oriented person who can come up with operations or the way, the how part, like answering a lot of the how, is generally your operator, right? So there is a creativity in operations. However, that might not be really like what a true creator in the business would be providing for the company. It could be solution-oriented for efficiency on the operation side, but some of the creation side of the products and how to position it for the clients and understanding the client experience, that's generally the creator role. The operator role is the how, like I said, and it's the distinct method at which we get things done, get it out there, take care of the internal workings of the company, like just really process-oriented and heavy. And there's a specific mind that loves to work that way. So you want to make sure you have a clean operator in your business. The entrepreneur role is the tricky one, but it is a distinct one. The way I define it is the entrepreneur is just loves the money, like loves to chase sales, get in front of the client, loves to figure out how we're going to grow and scale, more strategic, right? But to have all three, and most entrepreneurs feel that they have to fulfill all three roles, that's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to abandoning your business over time, because you wake up one morning, you're like, why do I even have this? I hate showing up for it. Where you turned your business into a job versus fuel for the life you want to have. The quiz itself is heykareen.com/CEO. Very easy to find. And once you do take it, then we send you the identity that you are with almost like the gotchas. You'll find yourself saying these things and you'll really be deterred if these things happen. We really give you the map of feeling the exhales of, oh, now I get it. Now I get why I've been suffering in my role, because I've been trying to do everything else.
Do you have visibility on your assessment on what percentage of people who take it fall into which bucket?
Yeah, I've been finding that at least, and it comes across who I actually attract in, Rich. So it's not necessarily a key thing, but every audience I do attract in, I would say a big percentage is creators and feeling the frustration and the overwhelm of the burnout because they're doing the operator role and they're trying to be entrepreneurs and they really don't like either of those roles. And then it goes into, I have creators, then more operators, and then entrepreneurs. Like the sales and the excitement of the growth part is actually a small percentage of the group that has taken the quiz so far.
So in that, with creative, operator, entrepreneur, it's, in my words, just validating what I heard. The creative is like the what, it's the idea orientation. The operator is the how. And the entrepreneur is the strategic side of it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me. Somebody clearly identifies, let's say, as one versus another.
Yeah.
What is your opening conversation with almost all of your clients about what that means and how do they fulfill the other roles?
Yeah, so a great question. I actually am going through this right now with partners who are married and in business together. I've coached a lot of partners in business. It's wild how so many things bleed into, and both of them are creators because I had them take the quiz, and I'm like, and that gave me a really clear path to be able to guide them and say, look, you both are highly innovative. You want to do the what's next. You want to come up with the what, but this is why the business is stagnant. Because operationally you're inefficient because you don't have a clear operator in the role. And yes, you've had great sales, but if we had someone just truly focus on the entrepreneurial side, then your business could scale even more. I also like to help people move into the owner role where they're not operating as much in their business and they can have oversight to maneuver. So with this particular case, that is what we pitch to them. I do have a recruiting and a placement part to my business as well, because once I start working with leaders, then they're like, can you help us find the people? Then that's network, next step. So I do have that arm to my business, and that's what we're doing. We're working on finding them that senior operator to come in and build the efficiencies that are dragging them down from the creation of what's next or the products and services they want to bring in. And then we're looking at bringing in a head of sales to really focus on the growth part there for the revenue.
And it sounds like the owner role, that's outside of the CEO model. That is oversight on the whole thing. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So if you truly want to leverage your business, you have to think like an owner and see your business as an asset in regards to your wealth creation, right? So you want to look at it like a portfolio manager would across all your assets. So your home is an asset in your wealth creation, or your investments are an asset in your wealth creation. So are your businesses. So if you can actually have a different lens, if you've been an owning operator, and again, this is why we talk exit strategy, because it's like, what if you just were owning it so you could go launch your next business? What would that look like? And we make sure that not only if they're operating in the company, that the right CEO role is distinguished for them. But then when you do want to become an owner, it's literally owning the asset to figure out what are you going to do with that to fuel your life.
And what's your advice to people if they're not at a revenue point where they can afford to hire, let's say, the 3 separate people, and they need to get more revenue in order to get there? How do they operate in the capacity that's not their strength?
In this example too, we first go through operational efficiency to see where's the spending going right now, to see if we can augment spending for existing, keeping the lights on, as I like to say, to now put some of that against new hire work. So first I look operationally, because again, there's always space to be more efficient there. And then it's now we've created more operational efficiency. We've aligned your role better, so then we can have more sales happen as we're looking for that head of sales to come in. But I like to look at the P&L, and I like to dig into the numbers and say, this is a lot of spend here for what? So maybe for the 6 months that we are looking for that new hire, we pull back on that spend so we have that net in place to hire the right person for that role.
On your acronym of evolve that ends with exit, I loved your take on exit is exiting the role. It's replacing yourself. It may not be selling the business, or maybe it is, but at least let's talk about exiting the role. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah. So when you have, again, that clear ultimate vision, I like to prompt the questions around, okay, now that you achieve the business of where it is, what happens next? Is this a legacy play? Are you leaving it for your family? Are you wanting it to die with you? These are the exit questions. Because if we understand like what happens after you've accomplished this ultimate vision and what it's all for regarding your business, then we can navigate, okay, as we're building your role and you're in these years of the doing, we have to set up the replacement plan for you, right? In order to then know that when the time is right, your exit is graceful. Because a lot of the times there's so much fear of change. I'm sure you guys see this all the time with your clients as well. The fear of change is just because there's unknown on the other side, which is why I always go back to the visual. Let's just keep thinking about what could it look like and inch ourselves towards it, right? And as you guys know, I'm sure too, it's like fear gets squashed with action. So it goes away that way. But the different types of exits, some people just want that business to die with them. And that's okay. If they are the business and they are the primary brand of it all and the service, great. But at least we know that as we're building it, right? And it's not going to be this shock when it comes to a point that when I retire, this business closes too, right? And that's okay.
Are you talking about the business retiring with the person? It makes me reflect on you, actually. With Hey Kareen,
yeah,
that's pretty Kareen specific. Is your game plan for the business to retire with you, or are you looking to build a practice where you have people who presumably aren't named Kareen who are referring people to Hey Kareen?
Yeah, so the reason why we called it Hey Kareen, because it's like the Hey Siri or Hey Alexa for your business. And honestly, when I first got that test platform, like before I launched it for a beta, I was like, I almost cried. Honestly, guys, I was like, this is my legacy play, because this lives on when I don't want to do it anymore. This is something that everyone can go to and use forever. If I keep the machine running, like it will continue to be used, and actually gave me the sense of freedom of, oh, okay, I can defer people there because I no longer want to potentially stand in that stance anymore, and it will give me time to go focus on other things. So that is my legacy play, Rich. That is the platform that I have built. I have to figure out financially sustaining it, but it has already given me an opening to start moving into, because I've been investing in more businesses. I've been advising more businesses. Now I'm growing in my own role where I want to spend my time. And it's been really cool to have that in place.
Kareen, let me ask another question on that, because a lot of entrepreneurs we're talking to today are really investigating this AI technology. You got way ahead of it when things were hot last year with your background.
Yeah.
And the platform you've built could be built for companies training their employees or being a resource. Hey, if you question how to do this at your job, and you can ask this platform. What platform did you use to train it on all of your repository of things? There's a lot of ones out there. I'm curious as to what you found to be the best.
Yeah, so I am one of the first cloned coaches on a platform called Delphi, and that's where the AI is built. And then I use another SaaS platform for the CMS tool to make it a Google Play and Apple app, where it also is, because anyone can download the app and have access to my content, my programs, my conversations. Like it's just the centralized information for entrepreneurial guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to chat with me, the AI is embedded in there. So I merged two different platforms into one for the usage of the app.
Yeah, so it has all of your content that you've ever put out there. In addition to, you can query it and have conversations with Kareen.
Yeah, and then it grows with me. So
Yeah.
like this conversation, when this airs, I can literally say, feed it into the machine because these questions you're asking me, others might not ask them. And
Yeah.
it goes ahead and it will support that person. The difference though, too, it's not just like answer output. It is an actual coaching discussion. So the way we designed it is also, it has follow-on questions. So if you come in there with your challenge and your how do I question, or what would you do if, then she'll literally go back and forth with you like I would, to ensure that you feel the support. So it's not just a typical search engine results.
Yeah. It's not just I'm going to give you an answer. It's, well, before I answer that, let me ask you a few more questions. Rich, you're pretty good at answering questions like that, right? Answer question with a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Kareen, since I know this is going to go in your app and in your AI, and if I didn't say, if anyone asks about John St. Pierre, they should know he's not only handsome, but he's brilliant. And I want the AI app to answer that. If somebody says, who's John St. Pierre? He is an entrepreneur who's both handsome and brilliant. I just want to capture that.
I love that. First, fantastic. I can't wait to go ask her once we load this in.
Thanks, Rich. Kareen, thank you very much for joining us today on the podcast. Again, one more time, you have so many tools on your website. Where should they go? Should they just go to the homepage? Is that the best place to go to navigate around? Or what would you recommend for our listeners?
The most up-to-date place for all the tools and the conversations, I would say, is the Hey Kareen app. It's best to download to get access, because I even have all my workbooks in there. I have a magnetic money mindset, link to the quiz. So everything's pretty much migrating to heykareen.com. If you want to interact with me directly or have me as a strategic person looking at your business, working with you, Kareen Walsh is the site for a lot of that information as well.
Love it. Thanks for joining us today on the Entrepreneurs United podcast. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned as John and Rich unpack today's conversation.
Rich, what a dynamic conversation with Kareen. And there's an extra E in her name because she is extra. And what type of energy she has, the tools she's built for entrepreneurs. I want to get on that Hey Kareen app, and I want to check it out myself for the AI portion alone, let alone all the feedback I can get from her on different things. So I look forward to checking that out at heykareen.com. There was one part of this conversation that I thought was really interesting. I'd never heard of this before. But do you should all over yourself?
I have heard of that before. And
I hadn't. That's
Really?
pretty funny.
yeah, and it's rarely used, but it is catchy and it is meaningful that when you're saying I should, there are two contexts to it. I should have, where you're looking at the past and you can't really change the past. Or I should in the future, where if we are saying I should, we want to do it in a future orientation. And then we'll change it from I should to I will. And that's how we convert some of that language to something that's a little bit more empowering. Loved this evolve acronym.
Yeah.
And the steps she goes through. And one of the things that's unique that we don't often hear from guests is she goes through it yearly with her clients. A lot of times we hear from guests, oh, well, here's my methodology and here's what we use, or here's an acronym. And there's not a redundancy to it that we've heard. Maybe they do, but we haven't heard about that. And she was very specific that she goes through that yearly so she can help that person evolve.
Yeah. And she talked about it being in a circular motion, right? Like you have to evaluate first. What is and she gave us even the questions for that, right?
Yeah.
Here are the retrospective exercises. Like what is going really well? Where are you at now? What do you need to stop? What do you need to start? And what is the one action you'll do today? There's some of an evaluation piece that happens, but then there's the vision, which as I talked about in this conference, like I love the idea that she's at the same spot where I am when I work with entrepreneurs. It's like, you need a life plan. You absolutely need a life plan connected to your business plan. That's the full ultimate vision. The own it, which what do you want to own, and then own it. What in the role in that CEO Conundrum Quiz, what part are you and what are you going to do to fill yourself in the other roles that you don't own? Because that's very important as well. The leverage, which we didn't talk enough about, that probably would have been an area I would have loved to dive in a little bit deeper now in retrospect, because I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs leverage what they have enough. They leverage their balance sheets, they leverage their loan at the banks, but they don't leverage the tools and the resources and the people enough in a lot of ways. Validation of what you're doing, and then exit. And it could be exit the role, not exit the company. And then as you review it on an annual basis, to your point, it's okay, let's evaluate that again. Let's go through this process again so you can keep rising up the strategic ladder of your role. And Rich, I talk about this a lot. Like your number one job as a CEO is to replace yourself. And in principle 7 in my book is move from CEO to chairperson. I think she worded it a little bit differently, which is move from CEO to owner. Have an owner mindset. You got to look at your business as an outsider. If you were the private equity firm that owned your business, how would you be running it? Who would be in what spots? I think that viewpoint is so important. Not enough entrepreneurs do that. Take yourself out of the role, make yourself the owner, not an operator in the business, an owner of it, and view it from that standpoint. Love that.
On that full ultimate vision, I was a little tickled when she used the word ultimate.
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared this with you or not. It was in 2011 that we had identified franchise owners were turning over a little more quickly than we wanted to see them turn over. It was around 5 years or so. And I came to the realization from a mentor of mine, and she had said, burnout is not about number of hours worked. It's about a loss of connection to meaning.
Yep.
And I ran with that in 2011 and said, okay, how can we get them more attached to meaning? And literally came up with, and we piloted and ultimately rolled out the ultimate vision plan. And in the ultimate vision plan, the first thing to look at was, what is your ultimate personal vision? And you've got to take out your current employment or current business that you own. And then you go ultimate professional vision. What's your ultimate professional vision? Again, you have to take out the language and acronyms of the current business you're in, because it may or may not be the ultimate. And then the third step to that was, how do you use where you are right now as a stepping stone to the ultimate? And it was bridging that gap of current day to the ultimate personal and professional vision. So when she said the full ultimate vision, I was like, oh, I love that language, because that same language is something we'd been running with, and it really has made a difference. Now it's just common language in CertaPro that, oh, have you done a vision plan? When's the last time you looked at your vision plan? And just really proud of having innovated that in 2011.
Yeah, I'll take that even a step further too. And it's fun. I appreciate you sharing the story. I don't think I ever heard that one, but I connected with that as well. As soon as she says like full ultimate vision, yes. And she also took it another way when she talked about ownership. If I come back to that for a second, a lot of people who don't own a company, even entrepreneurs, don't understand that they are the CEO of their lives. They have an investment in their home, potentially, their vehicles and other areas. Like, think about your life as an owner. What are the different properties you have? And I think we look at our kids as investments, and how do we invest in them and help them grow and prosper? And so if you look at your full ultimate vision, yes, you may have a business, but you also have other elements of that full ultimate vision that all need to play in harmony together. And I love your concept there of burnout is not that you're working too many hours. It's not because somebody at work frustrated you or something bad happened at work. It's ultimately that loss of meaning and full connectivity to everything that drives your passion. When you do find your full ultimate vision, Rich, it never feels like work. Nothing feels like work. It feels like you're working towards that meaning in something and you feel more fulfilled. So absolutely love that and love the energy she brought in that.
The app is her legacy play. I think that was really cool. And as a cloned coach, it occurred to me just in the last week or two, and we haven't talked about it, John. In the last week or two, it's occurred to me that there are going to be a lot of AI instances that are coming out where you'll communicate with the AI instance before you communicate with the human. So that, I think, is something that Patrick Bryant talked to us a little bit about. But I took this a step further. When you think about monetizing that AI instance where you can ask any question you want to it, I guarantee in the future, you're going to be able to, I don't know, for $500 a month, you could get Steven Spielberg's AI instance and talk to him about how to make a movie of your life. And he will answer in the brain of Steven Spielberg. I bet there will be a Walt Disney AI instance. And you'll be able to buy an AI instance and use the brain of the smartest people on the planet for a fee and ask them any question that you want. I can see that coming. We haven't heard anybody on the podcast. I haven't listened to any podcast who has said that yet, but that's something that occurred to me in the last week or two.
No doubt about it. I actually think you could do it right now.
Kareen is an example of that. She's doing it right now, right?
But I even say even further, for Kareen or us, we're not Steven Spielberg necessarily or Tony Robbins, and we don't have that much content out there in the world relative to those individuals. But a year ago, had ChatGPT write me a speech in the voice of Tony Robbins. Help me write the speech in this area, or help me put together a film plot if you have a Steven Spielberg based on all of that content. So you can actually query it. And it's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of the whole copyright things that are going to start happening with this. But you're right. Our ability to find information and data is going to be so present. And the fact that she's doing this for her customers right now, where you can have a conversation, you can call the Hey Kareen app and have a phone conversation with Kareen, but it's not Kareen. But with all the data that she has, what an amazing resource that can be for entrepreneurs to learn about anything that they have in their business, and especially how to scale their business. So love that. Go to heykareen.com. Kareen's another one that should probably be at the Entrepreneurs United Empowerment Experience in Winston-Salem, North Carolina this October. So if you want more information on that, go to entrepreneursunited.us to learn more about our upcoming event. Hopefully we'll see you there.